Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Connecting People, Changing Lives. My name is Caren Glasser, and I am here with my co-host and cohort, Nancy Ferrari. How are you today, Nancy?
I'm doing just great. Always happy for Thursday morning, and we just have a great show for our viewers today. And she's on her repeat guest appearance because unfortunately we had technology issues the first time around. But what I know is I loved what Heather Elliott was sharing with us and the viewers, and we're going to expand more on that. So, Caren, if you would love to
I will.
Heather Elliott.
Absolutely. So our guest today is Heather Elliott, and she has studied the mind since the early 80s, long before there was any interest or very much interest in this subject matter. She has been keenly motivated to understand who we are and how life really works, and has spent most of the 80s in New Age bookstores devouring the information that was available. Her conclusion: we are powerful beings and we need to learn how to access and use that power wisely. Heather's entire career has been devoted to people, teaching, facilitating, motivating, coaching, helping them to understand themselves and their lives, and finding the ways to help them change. Heather's company, Mindful Change, does just that. It allows her to use everything that she's learned about the mind, its power as a creator of our lives, and the truth about focus and how it will empower whatever it touches. And since 2005, she has helped hundreds of individuals to make powerful, permanent shifts in their lives. And she's here with us today. Heather, you're here with us today to make some of those shifts for our viewers. So welcome to the show. How are you today, Heather?
I'm great, Caren. Thank you very much for having me again.
We are just delighted to have you back, and you're a real trooper. Technology at its best is only kind of okay, and so we're really happy that you were flexible and that you were able to join us. So you know what, as we were chatting even before we went online, we were talking about some of the things that we might want to talk about today. Why don't we just start out with a definition? You are the mindset queen. What does mindset mean exactly? What's a definition?
Mindset is how our mind puts thought together coherently in pictures and stories for me. A mindset could be something as simple as a belief, like I like me or I hate me. The mindset that I deal with is the more complex stuff. So people feel limited in life, or people feel really good about themselves for certain reasons. There is a mind behind each of those states. If life is cooperating with you, it's kind of like a series of beliefs and thoughts that we hold that brings that reality into your field, and the opposite is true as well. So it's the complexity of how we're thinking and how that relates to the world and the people that we're drawn to.
Very, very interesting. I know that, Nancy, you deal a lot with mindset as well. I'm sure you have some thoughts on that as well.
Oh, I do. And as you initially said, the love-hate relationship that goes on within our minds. And we've talked about this, I think, before, Caren, on another show about especially women. And when I ask them, would you talk to someone like you're talking to yourself right now? And that's that awakening process. And that's how I feel that what you do for others is to awaken how they are thinking, because it's a program, right?
It's very much a program.
Over time. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's been developed over time, and we have programs literally about everything. So it's not just about whether we like ourselves or hate ourselves. It's also about what we think a relationship is, what love is, what life is all about, how life works. We have an unseen set of programs inside us that dictates every single aspect of our life, and you can dig into each and every one of them. We all have a money mindset. We all have a concept of what we think people are about. The relationships we experience with others are a result of how we see people and how we respond to different aspects of people. And they're all just simply programs. It's information that we've accepted through the journey of our life as the truth. Whatever we accept as the truth is stored in the brain, and that's what we keep on executing until we decide that whatever we've got in there is wrong. It's just like a sophisticated computer. You have files on there that are yours. You created them, And some contain truth, some contain falsehoods, but it doesn't matter. They still exist on your hard drive.
I love that analogy, the hard drive. You knew I was going to jump on that. That's technology. I love that. It's the files on the hard drive. Let's talk a little bit about the subconscious mind. Oh, there goes my dog. Let's talk about the subconscious mind. What does that mean, and how much of our mind actually is the subconscious aspect of it?
Only about 5% is conscious, which means 95% is subconscious. And it's all of the programs that we never see or never process that kind of inform us about who we are. We don't have to stop to think about how we feel about something, because the feeling is instantaneous. But the interesting part is when you take a feeling and you dig down into why you feel what you feel, you dig up an entire storyline, an entire timeline of events that happened to you that caused you to think a certain thing and therefore come to believe something that will result in the emotion you're feeling. And the emotion is the only thing you even notice. You don't even know why you do it.
It's autopilot is what I refer to it. That we're,
exactly.
Until you know, knowledge is power, and that's what you provide, and I've learned also from others through the years, is that the mind actually can't negate between what's the story and what's the reality. And that opened up the door for me to know I have the power of choice, change,
yes.
and to know the triggers. And this is the work that that you do for others, so that they can finally go. I call it. I actually saw a rainbow the other day, and I was telling my husband, that's what I do. I don't go to the pot of gold yet. We go back to the beginning, and discover who we really truly are by our own birth experience, and then get to the end.
The whole idea of the unconscious mind, and the fact that you say 95% is the subconscious mind, that's huge. And I guess it goes to the point that how many times have you gotten in your car and don't know how you actually got home because you don't actually remember the journey, the trip, or you've lost your keys, and then you end up finding them, several hours later in the freezer because you brought your food home and put it there. I just find it fascinating that we're just so not in tune with what we're doing most of the time. Can you speak to that? I mean, and how do we change that, and is that how mindful change comes about?
We're not in tune with what we're thinking, mostly because we live life unconsciously. I look at the brain as a magnificent system that has been designed to serve us really, really well. Because when you think about it, the gazillion things that we have to do in a day, we don't want to have to be conscious about all of that. So when you get in your car to drive it, you don't want to have to think about every minute thing you're doing in the car to drive it. You want to be focused on other things. And so I look at the brain as perfect at developing habits. So it learns certain things and accepts it as the best way of doing it, and then you can go to sleep and put it in the background because you don't need to think about it again. And so that's why most of us live our life on autopilot, is because we have all of these stored routines. Think about your morning routine. Like, why do you get up out of bed the way you do? What's the next thing you do? What's the next thing you do? What's the next thing to do? As humans, we seek repetition because it makes it simpler. We don't have to stop to think about how to get out of bed in the morning and what our routine is going to be, because it's always the same. And we get into that habit with regard to everything, even our relationships. You have an opinion of people, so every time you see them, you re-see them the same way. And it's just our habit. We just get into the habit of seeing people always a certain way and things as always being a certain way. So we end up living a habit instead of being present to it.
So what is mindful change then? And I'm sure that is a way to help us be more mindful, I'm going to take a guess. So what is it? What is mindful change?
It works a couple of ways. On a conscious level, it helps people to begin to pay attention to what it is they're focusing upon. Okay, so if they feel a certain feeling, rather than just reacting from the feeling, okay? Let's say that I'm having an interaction with you and you say something that makes me angry, okay? Most people will hide the anger. When you're becoming mindful of it, you basically step back and ask yourself, okay, whoa, what am I angry at? What just happened? What did Caren just say that made me angry? And then you kind of examine, oh, well, I think she's putting me down. So then you have to examine, okay, was she actually putting me down? And maybe I'd have a conversation with you. Sounds like you were putting me down. were you? But that's the mindfulness. It's starting to question all of those things that fire in your brain that may or may not be the truth. The same way as some morning maybe you get up and you start looking at your habits and saying, well, do I really want to have that same breakfast this morning? Maybe I'll explore outside of the bounds of my habits and try something different. So mindfulness is paying attention to the mind and starting to question all the things that we accept as truth. We often don't look at our emotions or what we think about things as just simply programs. We think they're the truth and we think they're who we are, so we don't examine them. So that's kind of like number one. Mindful change in itself is also a process that helps people to go beneath their habits to explore why they are doing what they're doing and then to change them. If the mind is simply a series of programs, like any kind of program, you can change it. You just need to know how to do that. And so mindful change has gotten very good at that. So that we take what doesn't serve people, it could be emotional baggage like anger, trauma, that kind of thing, or it could be limiting things like my reality just doesn't seem to get any better. I always attract crappy guys or whatever it happens to be. And we're able to dig down below these things and to find out what is the program maintaining it and then change it. And as a result, their life changes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I just had this conversation yesterday with a friend, and once we realize that it has nothing to do with the other person, it has everything to do with us and how we view life and the reality. And this is something that's actually kind of new to me. It's called mirror work. It's for me, it's just about getting in front of the mirror and looking and going, who am I? What am I here to do? And get real and raw with yourself. Because I know that for sure, especially when you're shifting things, it's that awareness piece and being in the present moment. That's where, when I learned that the past is the past. You know, resolve issues. And then we can't predict what the next 5 minutes will bring, right? So, but it's what's happening in the now will then open up the gates to a brighter future.
Easier said than done. Easier said than done.
It's work, and that's why there's someone like Heather Elliott to help people get to that place, because the rewards are so enormous.
Yeah, it's actually, it's not as hard as what you think, ladies. Like in the space of a day, somebody can completely remove the anxiety and the panic that they've been feeling. Like it doesn't have to be a big deal, but you're absolutely right, Nancy. You have to remove the past. Our mind is a magnificent time machine. All time exists simultaneously, so that the past of ourselves is coexisting with the present of ourselves, which coexists with the future of ourselves. And so, there are ways to be able to go back in time to change how you saw things in the past, so that you stop holding on to old attitudes, and then you can just simply be in the present with a fresh attitude that doesn't include all the old baggage. It really can be quite simple.
So let's talk about some of, as examples, and some of your success stories, some of the people that you've worked with, to give some ideas to the people that are listening as to how these mind shifts actually can happen.
Okay. So I'll start with a personal story first. A young woman that I helped many different times. She came out of a severely abusive past, okay, physically, emotionally, and sexually, like the whole gamut of things, that had her majorly messed up on the inside, okay? So her relationships were a mess. Her relationship to money was a mess. Her ability to succeed in life was a mess. She was just really a mess, okay? So she occasions, and she completely rebuilt her mind and her emotions to become the supportive foundation of her life that it was always intended to be. So we were able to heal all of the trauma, heal all of the messaging that came to her, and in the process of that, she gained the control of her life. Is that, she was a very smart woman, and she should have had a very successful life, but she couldn't because of the trauma. But after several sessions with me, she basically got her life together. Think of it this way. She finally got the full-time job that she loves, doing what she loves, what she's really good at, with tons of opportunity to be able to create a future for herself that is absolutely simply amazing. The second thing she found was love. For the very first time, she found love. And she was able to establish a solid connection with another human being and start to build a life for herself. And then the third thing that came online was her social network, in the sense of having a house, having a home, having a social network that was ongoing and supportive. So she brought her life from this fractured, like, think of someone whose life was just filled with drama. If it could happen to her, it did. She had health issues, she had money issues, she had everything going on. And she went from this, I want to say, this disastrous existence where she couldn't seem to get her feet under her to moving forward. And she did that all through this work.
Wow.
Of rebuilding the past.
I have to assume that when you work with people and you have those kind of incredible transformational results, that for yourself, you must have that feeling inside that you know that you've made a difference.
Oh, yes.
Is that what motivates you? Is that what motivates you?
Yeah. I mean, if I could have chosen a profession years ago, it would have been as a psychologist. But something in me couldn't stay the path because it wasn't right. Well, I'm finally doing, I think, what I always wanted to do, which is to make massive differences in the lives of other people, and to do so relatively effortlessly, and to positively impact their life and my own life in the process. So I feel like I kind of got to that end goal, but I just kind of went a different way.
And I just wanted to touch on something. As I was reviewing your website, I saw that the word meditation, which is a big part of my life, and it allows me to kind of go deeper, or just actually go still. And I wanted to know if you incorporate that into your practice as well.
I don't teach people meditation. I'm happy to have others teach them meditation. I myself use a practice of stillness to be able to access, I want to say, a line of wisdom that will come to me as long as I'm still, so that we all can be channels for our own greater wisdom if we can get to that level of stillness. And I mastered that ability a long time ago. In fact, my product that I built was a product of that kind of channeling. Like, I was able to develop the product that I do by allowing that inner wisdom to come to me and to show me what I needed to build so that I can make that difference in the lives of other people. So that I want to say that it's not my ego self that did this. I don't consider it that at all. I consider whatever wisdom I have in the stillness was the author of what I do.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting you do, because I generally refer to it as stillness. But seeing the word meditation, for me, it's interchangeable, and I think everyone has a definition of it. But there again, stillness for me is creating that space, such as you shared, and for more to come in. And then when you ask, well, how is that different from prayer? Well, prayer is your connection to God, source, light, whatever you pray to or pray about. But yes, stillness is generally my reference as well, and you explained it so well. So that's when you receive those answers.
And I'm listening to both of you talk about stillness and meditation, and I'm sitting here going like this. It's a big challenge for me to get still. It's a very big challenge for me to just breathe sometimes and still myself, because all I want to do is start moving when I go still. So I'm jealous, and I know that it's something that I can learn if I set my mind to it. Right, Heather?
Yeah, I can help you with that, is what I want to say, Caren.
I'm transparent if I'm nothing else. I have a really hard time getting still, and I am very envious of both of you, quite frankly, and those who can do that and just go within yourself and listen. I tend to just do that, and then within literally seconds, I'm thinking about what I have to do next, and I have to go, shopping, or I have to go host a show or something. So you and I, Heather, have talked, and I know that we will be working together in the very near future. Specifically, I'm sure on that. Thank you very much. I want to bring something up, because we were talking about your new book that's coming out. And
Yes.
oh my gosh, I want you to say the title because, you know, we can't make this stuff up. So, what is the title of your new book coming out in June, Heather?
Same shit, different day.
God, I wish I had thought of that.
Well,
So,
maybe that's something you think about when you get up there.
when you get still. So, question: what is the book going to be about? And I'm really excited that it's coming out. And for those of you who are listening and watching, and this show will be on forever, you'll be able to go get the book once it's out. We'll add a link to the book in the show. What's the book about?
Basically, what it is, in the journey of my work, I came to realize that people manifest the same themes in their life that started in childhood. So think of childhood. Let's say that they grew up in a household that struggled financially. And what you will find with these people is that struggling financially became such an ingrained part of their mindset in childhood, is that they will carry it with them. It will be a theme that will keep recreating itself in every facet of their life. So they go into their teen years and they never learn how to manage money or whatever, or money slips through their fingers. They go into their 20s, and in spite of the fact that perhaps they earn way more money than what their parents did or that kind of thing, that they keep recreating the financial struggle that they experienced as a childhood. And what I realized is that we have all sorts of themes like this that we keep recreating in our life. Remember, I said the brain was like a habit. It loves habits. It loves routines. So whatever it learned in childhood, it just continues to project the same reality into your world, no matter how old you are, because you expect the same things. So that the child that grew up in limitation comes to expect that money doesn't grow on trees, money is hard to come by, you only just get by, life is a struggle, life is hard. These are some of the central beliefs that form their mind. And then they just keep recreating that event over and over and over again. And so I started to realize is that most people, if you look at their life today, you can actually see that they have been repeating the same theme in terms of their primary relationships, in terms of their approach to work, in terms of their approach to money, is that all of this stuff, think of like the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray.
Yeah,
Right.
You're waking up every morning to the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even realize that it's your brain that's creating it. So that when your life appears to be day in, day out, it's just the grind, you know, this, that, and the other thing. It's your brain that's creating it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote this book in an endeavor to wake you up to the fact that, you know, this is where you need to get present to your life. Because it's kind of like you get up every morning and it's a DVD player and you're pressing play on the DVD player and you're going run. You're running this program called life. And you're running it through the script of everything that you've accepted, and it runs perfectly the way you think it's going to, day in and day out. So I wanted people to become more aware of the fact that their life is not a habit. You need to wake up and understand that each day is fresh and new and start to create it that way. But it's hard because we get into so many habits. Like by the time we're in our 30s, especially when we're raising families and stuff, we have this mental habit called life, and we are just executing it flawlessly over and over and over again. And we think we're living it, and we're really not. We're living a program.
How long does it take for a habit to form, or is there no general amount of days or weeks or months?
They say 23 days, 21 days, 30 days for a habit to form.
Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Why so long? Why so long?
Why so long? Because in the brain, what they know in brain science is what fires together will wire together. Meaning, when you're learning a habit, like let's say you're learning how to run, is that you need to execute the same steps over and over again for the neural net to actually form in your brain. That is when it wires together. And then the more you use this particular skill or ability or attitude, the more it hardwires, meaning it's harder to pull it apart. You will default to this pattern more regularly the more you use it. And over time, what they know is that the neurons actually get big and fat, and these myelin sheaths grow over top, and it makes the circuitry of it lightning quick, which is why some of the stuff that we do in life is so lightning quick. There's no real thought before we do it. And that's because the brain is made up of these neural nets, they're called, that are so hardwired and so fat and so fast that it's a nanosecond between when something happens and our reaction happens.
So I would guess then on the alternative side that because it forms and it's so thick in layers that that's why it's so hard to break habits as well.
Yes. That's what they say is because it takes 21 days to break a habit. We have to form a habit, right?
Yeah. And the thing is that the 21 days to break a habit is that understand the neural net is still in the brain. So in other words, it's like smoking. You know, like you stop smoking and your body gets used to no nicotine and you start to reform new habits. But the thing is if your smoking habit was like this, you know, and you suddenly pulled it apart, all you've done is broken the neural connection. But if you decided to have that cigarette, boom, like it goes back because that neural circuitry is still in place.
So what's the correlation then with that and addictions? Because my mind right now is going to alcohol addictions, as you said, to cigarette and things like that. Is that also because it's so thick and so that it's so hard to break?
Yep, absolutely. And plus, what I know about addictions is there is a psycho-emotional base to them. So it's not if you stop the habit, you haven't transformed why they're doing it. You know, the psycho-emotional base, it could be negative self-esteem, it could be any number of things, trauma, you know, to dull the pain. All those things need to be taken into account when you're trying to heal addictions, because the woman I spoke about earlier, she had addictions up the wazoo, okay? So all of that, like doing the work with me, broke away all of the addictions as well. Because the whole foundation of the addictions, we didn't even go in on the addictions. We just went in on healing the past, so that she could live trauma-free. And when we did it, her addictions left. And that's just the way it was.
That's fascinating. And I'm sure people are sitting there wondering how they can work with you, Heather, and how they can avail themselves to your expertise, because the science of this is fascinating, as well as the doing, I'm sure. So if somebody wants to work with you, I know that you have a mindset assessment that you do complimentary. How do they get in touch with you to avail themselves to that and find out how they might be able to work with you?
So if you go on my website, you'll be able to see the mindset assessment stuff. I believe, and it's because somebody else manages my website, I'm just saying this from memory, I believe there's a way through my website to be able to go to the page called Mindset Assessment, and on that page you will be asked to give your name and email address, and that will take you to a page with a questionnaire that you will fill out, and that helps me to prepare for our assessment. And then at that point we'll schedule you for an appointment, so it comes all through the website. You can also send me an email at heather@mindfulchange.com. And if you send me an email and say I would like to do a mindset assessment, I can give you the link that will take you to the page that you can fill out all the information, and I will give you a time to be able to do that with me.
That'll be awesome, and we'll also put the links directly below as well. I'll get that link from you, Heather, and we'll put it there so people can just go directly and do that assessment. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us in terms of the great work that you're doing, and anything else that might be interesting to our listeners and viewers?
It's just to reiterate the fact that people think that life is happening outside of them. We have been taught to make the world more powerful than we are, and I invite you to take a look at it and realize that the world is a projection of our minds. The world is an illusion. And whatever you see out there that you think that you need to change, realize that if you are at odds with the world, if you feel you need to change it or judge it, go searching inside yourself, because the person that needs to change it is you. Stop making it about the world and make it about you. And that gives you back all the power you need to be able to affect the changes in your life that you desire to see.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Nancy, I know you want to have some last words you want to share with everyone before we say goodbye. Heather, you're powerful. That's all I can say.
Yes.
Thank you, Caren.
And thank you for your sharing all that you have in a short period of time. But you're so right. And what I want to do is to invite the viewers to start with connecting with you, because I also filled out the assessment form. We have yet to talk, but that is what you need to start, and where that begins the unfolding process. And I just thank you for the great work that you're doing in the world, because you are so right. It is not what's outside of us, it is truly within. So from my heart and soul, I thank you for what you're doing, and I also appreciate you sharing your story about the success story. I can't say it. I'm talking too fast right now. But your client, and I'm so grateful that she is living the life that she truly is deserving, like we all are.
Yes.
So thank you.
So I want to thank our viewers, because we know that you have a choice as to how you spend your time, and we are very appreciative that you chose to spend it with us today. So as always, go out and give someone an awesome day, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Connecting People, Changing Lives. Bye, everyone.